Here we go. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Wholesale Real Estate Investing Show, number 283 by SAHA, here on this NEWOPDAY AM, August 15th, 2016. What a beautiful morning it is here in Lake Tahoe, California. Beautiful blue skies. The smoke is cleared out. The blue skies are back. The pine trees are green. The grass is green. The temperatures are perfect. It's an awesome, awesome day. And I'm going to go on a boat ride today. So here we are, show 283, and today we're going to talk about what we always talk about on NewOp Days, and that is the Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. Why do we talk about this book on a wholesale real estate investing show? Because wholesale real estate is all about relationships. It's all about dealing with people. You have to deal with sellers. You have to deal with buyers. You have to deal with title companies. You have to deal with people. I don't care what you think, you're going to deal with people in wholesale real estate. Bottom line, there's no two ways around it. I don't know any way possible you can get a contract without talking to somebody. All right, and maybe back in the day when there was a foreclosing property on every corner and people were in a desperate situation, that you could potentially send a letter and an email and a contract and actually get a property under contract without actually having to talk to somebody. But those days are gone, guys. And even when they were around, it's a very limited opportunity. It's not one you want to bank your career on, okay? You're gonna have to talk to people. This book teaches you how to talk to people. So we have just finished part 3 in this book, and I just want to see here. Wow. Oh no, here we go. We just finished part 3 in this book, which is How to Win People to Your Way of Thinking, which is the title of today's show, because we're going to recap the 12 principles to utilize in how to win people over into your way of thinking. Now, don't you think in wholesale real estate that might be a good idea if you could win people over into your way of thinking? Because what is your way of thinking versus their way of thinking? Well, when you're talking about sellers, your way of thinking obviously is to get the property for the lowest price possible. Isn't that correct? And their way of thinking is obviously to sell the property for the largest amount possible, right? So you're here and they're here. You need to get them to come over here. They want you to come over here, but you don't want to go over there, because if you go over there, there's no deal. You need to be over here if you want to have a deal. So you need to get them to come over to your way of thinking. Maybe that's a pretty important part of this book here. Bless me. Excuse you. Man, excuse me, bless you, whatever. My nose is acting up a little bit this morning, but anyway, like I say, very, very powerful stuff in winning people over into your way of thinking. So what are the 12 principles, the 12 chapters in this part 3 of the book? Well, let's run through them one at a time here, and a quick little explanation as to the power behind them. Number 1, principle number 1, it says, in a nutshell, win people to your way of thinking. Principle number 1, the only way to get the best of an argument is to avoid it. I mean, pretty simple right there, okay? Just don't argue with people. You get into an argument with somebody, they're never going to come over to your side, to your way of thinking, because when you argue, you're all about defending your position. And if you're defending your position, you're not going to let down your guard to cross over to the other side. And there's nothing you can say to another person to win that argument that's going to get them to cross over the other side. They might give in, they might let you in, but they are not going to change their belief and come to your way of thinking. So just don't argue with people, period. End of conversation. Simple enough. Number 2, show respect for the other person's opinions. Never say you're wrong, okay? Number 1, that's how you start an argument. And we just said you want to avoid arguments. So never say you're wrong. You never want to tell somebody that they are wrong, because as I just said, when somebody tells you that you're wrong, your defense mechanisms immediately goes up. I mean, them's fighting words, baby. I'm wrong. Come on. I'll defend my position till the day I die because I'm right. I know I'm right. Right? So there you go. You just started an argument. Anytime you tell anybody that they're wrong, you have just solidified their position of what they thought was right to begin with. Whether it's right or wrong, it makes no difference. They're now solid on the fact that it's right, and they're going to defend that. And you just started an argument. So never tell anybody that you are wrong. What you want to do is basically you want to just agree with them. You know, wow, okay, I can see your point of view on that. Let me show you how I was thinking about how this works. Let me show you how I was thinking about, you know, this situation. Let me show you what I was thinking on how this, and just present them with another avenue of looking at something, hopefully to get them to, you know, have the light bulb come on and say, you know what? I never thought of looking at it that way. That's a completely different way to look at it. Now that I see it from that point of view, you might be right here. This is something very good. That's how you avoid an argument and win them over into your way of thinking, not by saying you're wrong. You'll never win them over into your way of thinking with that. Okay, principle number 3 is now when you are wrong, admit it quickly and emphatically. Why? Number 1, people, what's the word I'm looking for? Respect a person who takes responsibility for their own mistakes, for their own errors, okay? So when you admit quickly and emphatically that you are wrong, oh my gosh, you know what? I never looked at it that way. You are right. I was wrong. I can't believe that. Instantaneously, you've built respect, big time, by just admitting the fact that you are wrong. Secondarily, is that what you will find to happen many times is that when you continually, continue to admit that you are wrong, especially if you bring it up before they even have the opportunity to present, why you were wrong. If you bring it up first, instead of them attacking you on, you being wrong, now you brought it. Oh, you know what? I was totally wrong on this. Look at it. Here's some information that I found that's completely changes what I was saying here. And I was completely wrong. I apologize for that. Oh no, well, you weren't wrong. It was just the, where you were looking at it, the source that you were looking at, that was wrong. Or, they'll start defending you and trying to convince you that you weren't wrong, that it was something else or someone else, that it wasn't you. That's the power behind admitting that you are wrong, is that you can actually win them over into becoming your defense mechanism. That's winning them over into your way of thinking, isn't it? Principle number 4, begin in a friendly way. I mean, that's just simple. You don't want to start out by irritating someone. You always want to start out in a friendly way. Maybe by not even discussing the subject matter for with, the conversation is, or the meeting is all about. Start in a friendly way with a conversation about something else, about something that interests them, about something that they like, about their pet or their favorite sport or whatever, team or whatever, something they like. Start out in a friendly way. Get them off on the right foot. Don't ever irritate somebody right out of the gate. Principle number 5, get the other person saying yes, yes immediately. This is big. You want to get that other person saying yes. So you want to make sure that you're prepared with your presentation, with your talk, so that you can go in with the ability to ask a question in a manner, and it could be a question about anything, but it's how you ask the question So you can ask a question that gives a person the ability to answer either yes or no. And that's pretty much kind of how we ask our questions most of the time anyway, is by leaving it completely open-ended and allowing that person to give whatever answer they want, which most of the time, if you give them that opportunity, they'll choose no, because no is safer. But if you reframe that question, you ask it in a manner in which they can only really answer yes. Now you've got them saying yes, and you want to continue to keep them saying yes as often as possible. You don't want them saying no at any point in time, because eventually, when it comes time to say, here's where we're going to sign this document right here, and you're going to sell me this house, you want them in that mode of saying yes. Okay, so get them saying yes right out of the gate. Principle number 6, let the other person do a great deal of the talking. This is huge, right? It's hard. We all want to talk about ourselves and what we're doing and all of that stuff. To let go and let the other person do a lot of the talk, a great deal of the talking, is a tough thing for us to do. It just goes against our nature. But if you ask that question, the prior one, if you ask that question in a manner that gets them to say yes, back it up, reinforce it. That's how you get them saying yes more, right? So these two kind of go together. By letting them do the talking, they're saying yes more and more inside their head. If you've asked a question that gets them to say yes right out of the gate, and then you support that question by backing it up and continually adding a little bit more towards their thought process of why they said yes in the first place, they're just reinforcing that yes. And that's just, putting more inside their mind. So get them to do a great deal of the talking. Number 7, let the other person feel that the idea is his or hers. And that's the big one right there. You're never going to convince anybody of anything. Sorry, you're not that good. The greatest salesman on earth is not ever going to convince anybody, of anything. The only person that's going to convince that person of something is themselves. You've got to let them believe that the idea is his or hers. So you've got to present information in a way that gets them thinking along the way that you're thinking. And when they start thinking the way you're thinking, now they can start realizing that, okay, I see, this is what it is. This is really what it is. And then they'll come out and say, I see where, this house needs a lot of work. I see where the values are, not nearly as high as what we had originally thought. I see where, you're going to run into problems with this, that, or the other thing. And I can see where, you're really going to want to get this property, at a price. Obviously you've got to make a little bit of money. I can see where you're going to want to get this property at a price somewhere around yada, yada, yada. Idea is theirs. You didn't have to tell them how much you're willing to offer. Idea was theirs. And when it's theirs, they'll probably think you need to get it for a whole lot less than what you really do need to get it for. Trust me on that one. It happens that way. All right. Number 8, try honestly to see things from the other person's point of view. When they are becoming defensive on something, don't try to fight it. Don't try to, tell them they're wrong and get into that argument. Simply put yourself in their shoes, right? And then when you put yourself in their shoes and you look at this situation from their point of view, do it from an honest place. Literally put yourself in there and think, okay, what if I were there? What if I were this person? Where would I be? What would I want out of this deal? What would be something that would work for me? And put yourself in that position. And then when you can present yourself from their point of view to them, it inspires trust, because they can believe that you really understand where they're coming from. And when they believe that you really understand where they're coming from, like I said, that inspires that trust factor that can get them, winning them over into your way of thinking. They got to trust you in order to think like you. Otherwise, they're never going to think like you. So that's the big thing with that, in being putting yourself, seeing things from their point of view, is winning that trust. Principle number 9 now is be sympathetic with the other person's ideas and desires. Again, these two kind of go together. Okay, so you put yourself in their shoes and you be sympathetic with their ideas and their desires, because now you've got to realize, wow, okay, I see, if I was in your position over there, I can see where I would definitely want to be looking at, trying to get X amount of dollars from this house. I understand, you've got all this stuff going on, yada, yada, yada. You want to really try to, do this so you can help your family, your son, your daughter, et cetera, and so on. But the reality of the thing is, it's just not possible. You got to look at what the numbers are, because the numbers don't lie, and the market is only going to allow for so much to happen over here. So you got to be able to show them that, even though I totally understand. I mean, if I was in your position, I'd want to do those same things for my kids, but I would have to look at the idea of, what can I gosh, excuse me. I would have to also look at the idea of, okay, reality check, what can I actually really accomplish with this? From your point of view now, okay, well, you know what? Hey, listen, it's $10,000 less than what you had anticipated. I realize that's a huge amount of money, but look what you can still do, right? Without this, X amount that you're going to get out of this property, what would you be able to do then? You're not going to be able to do anything for the kids like you talked about. Granted, you're going to come up a little bit short, but hey, you'll figure out something. You'll figure out a way to make it happen. This will get you the time that you need to get things going, to get the ball rolling, to get them on the right track, to do the things that you want to do. And then you can figure out how to position yourself to make sure that that back end comes to fruition, so you can, complete what you set out to do. So be sympathetic with the other person's ideas and desires. Principle number 10 is appeal to the nobler motives. Gosh, nose is really freaking out. So what does that mean, appeal to the nobler motives? Well, instead of saying something like, what do you want to do with this house that you inherited, right? Instead of saying something like that, say, well, what do you think your mom would want you to do? The person who passed away, right? What do you think your mother would like for you to do with this property? What do you think she would like to, a nobler motive, another factor that isn't in and of themselves, something of a higher level, so to speak, that talks to them, something that speaks to them, is what they mean here by appealing to the nobler motives. And you're going to find that through their emotions and what their situation is and what's going on with their life and their situation. And as I said, look, Joe, your mom passed away 10 years ago. Do you really think that she would, be pleased with the property and the condition that it's in right now, having sat, empty for so long? What do you think she would want you to do with this property? Again, like I said, appealing to the nobler motives. That can really drive home the ability for them to start thinking in your way, and to start thinking that the ideas are theirs, because now they can have this higher voice speaking to them, not just you speaking to them, but they can have this higher voice speaking to them, and this higher voice inside their own mind can now say to themselves, you know what, this is what you need to be doing. You need to be, selling this house, blah, blah, blah. You need to do blah, blah, this, that, and the other thing. So that's appealing to that nobler motive is a way to basically, bring infinite intelligence, bring the universe, bring the past, whatever it is, onto your team, and to help them, to have someone else speaking to them to get them to look at things from, what is now your point of view, but in their mind, because this voice is talking to them, it's their own idea. Okay, principle number 11 is dramatize your ideas. This is a big one. Gosh, I apologize for all this, but dramatizing your ideas. It's one thing to show somebody something and say, "Oh, look at this calculator right here. It's great. It does all this stuff, right?" But if I show you, "Oh, look at this calculator right here. Look what it does right there. Look what it does right here. You can do this. You can do this." If I'm actually dramatizing it and showing you, I could say, "Hey, look at this calculator. It does all these things. I mean, you can do this, you can do that, you can do all these things. You should really get this calculator, right?" And be like, "Oh, that's awesome. I don't need that calculator." But if I say, "Hey, look, what do you do?" "Oh, really? Well, you know what? Check this out. This calculator right here, if you push this button right here, and you do these numbers over here, and you push this button over there, it tells you exactly how that works." Like, ooh, wow. What else does it do? "Oh, well, what else do you do in your business? What else do I do?" "Well, I do this, I do that." "Well, check it out. If you do this right over here, you push this button right over here, and then you go to the numbers right over here, and you hit this button down here, boom, there's your answer right there, just like that." Wow. See, dramatizing, bringing it to life, enacting, showing statistics, just any kind of thing like that you can bring life to your words in a manner that is, I mean, the bigger the better, obviously. Looking at television and everything else like that, like I said, the bigger the better. You can really get into the whole idea of showing what it is that this product or your service can do for each other. One of the things that you could potentially do is, in dramatizing, is you could have, some case study of some people that you have helped prior. Testimonials is another way to dramatize ideas, and letting someone else show, what you were able to do for them in a similar situation. So dramatizing your ideas, the bigger the better. Bring them to life, make them really stand out, make them really see what's going on here. Not just, here's my information, yada, yada, here's my offer, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? The bigger the better. And then principle number 12, throw down a challenge. Okay? People are competitive by nature. We want to win. We want to do better than the other guy. We want to come out on top. We want to be first. We want to be the one who, is the champion. And so anytime that you can create a challenge for people, whether it be for an individual or for a group of people, if you can create a competition or a challenge within that, even if it's them challenging themselves, Joe, you've been doing this work forever, and you always maintain this level right here. And I mean, I know you know this machine better than anybody else in the plant, and I'm certain that you, if you wanted to, you could, with very little effort whatsoever, you could produce 10% more than what you do. And I see that the new kid over here, Eddie, actually, he's only been on the machine for 3 months now, and he's already doing the same as you. Doesn't even have to be better. You don't have to say that Eddie's doing better than him, but Eddie's only been on the machine 3 months. He's already doing the same amount as you. Anyway, I just thought that I just thought that I would let you know that I think that you do a great job here, and like I say, you're a master on the machine, and I know you've got this. I know you can perfect this thing. You've got it perfected. So just want to let you know that. So, and the next thing you know, Joe's going to be like, freaking Eddie, that new kid over there, he's doing as much as me? No way, he can't do as much as me. There's no way he can do as much as me. I've been here for 10 years. He's been here for 6 months. That kid can't do as much as me. I'll show him. And all of a sudden you got Joe is producing, not 10% more. Well, maybe he just does 10% more. Yeah. Let's see if he can do that, right? And then he sees that Eddie's able to do 10% more as well too. So forget that. I'll do 50% more. They'll really boost it up on you. How does that apply? And how can you put a gosh dang it. Sorry. How can you put a competition or a challenge into purchasing a property? That's an interesting question. But if you think hard enough on it, you'll find a way. You can you could maybe, I don't know. You don't want to, challenge people to go look for other offers, because it's very possible they could get a better one. So that's not really where you want to take it. But maybe you could challenge them on time. With the fact that the longer that this thing sits here, the worse it's going to get, or something like that. So there's other challenges that you could throw down, opposed to just seeing if you can get a better offer, from somebody else. But there's other challenges that you could throw down to somebody that would get them to anticipate the idea of moving faster on this and getting this deal done with you. So those are the 12 principles. And as you can see, why those things can help to win people over into your way of thinking. And if you look at those 12 principles, and I hope you were writing them all down, if you look at those 12 principles and you run through those, I'm sure you can sit there and figure out how to apply each and every one of those into your sales presentations when you're looking to go buy a property from a distressed property owner. And once you do that, once you start applying some of these principles into your presentation like that, you're going to see more and more and more people saying yes and yes and yes, and signing those contracts and making you money. So, all right, everybody, that's the end of part 3. We're going to get into part 4 next NEWOP day, which is Be a Leader, how to change people without giving offense or arousing resentment. That's big. Big stuff there, because you know what? Whenever you try to change people, that's the first thing that happens. They get offended, because why do I need to change? Yep. And they resent you for bringing it to their attention. So how do you do that without triggering those two things? Part 4, that's what we're getting into next. Going to be good. And that's, we're almost through. There's only that much of this book left. And guess what? We'll start it all over and do it again. So everybody have a great day here. It's a NEWOP day. It's a big session. I hope you guys go out there and crush it big time. Use these techniques in your business, and you will be crushing it big time very soon. And we'll see you back here on Freedom Friday for another show.